So today I wanted to talk about this awesome new piece of gear that I've got. I bought it back in December, and right off the bat this video isn't sponsored. And I just wanted to tell you the story of why I sold my Line 6 HX Stomp and basically what I've used to replace it. So for those of you who've been following the channel for any length of time, I've pretty much been using the HX Stomp as my only amp, really, for the entire time I've been running this channel. And I just wanted to talk about why I got rid of it and what I replaced it with. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to, and let me turn off my guitar volume knob there, the Hotone Ampero Mini. Now, this wonderful little device comes with some drawbacks versus the HX Stomp, but it fit all of the boxes that I was looking for. And the other thing that I was excited about to share this on the channel is that you could buy about 3 of these for the cost of one HX Stomp. Now, Hotone is relatively new-ish in the amp modeling game, and they're copying kind of popular form factors from various competitors in the space. But the thing about this one that made it particularly appealing to me, there were 2 main things that drew me to it. The first is the form factor. This is significantly thinner. The HX Stomp with switches is probably about that thick, so it's literally about half the space in terms of that. And it is also smaller sideways. And one of the big reasons that I got into modeling tech was that it would let me bring less and less stuff to gigs, and that is very appealing for me as a working and gigging musician. Now, the second feature that I love about this, it is so much more intuitive to dial it in because it has a touch screen. You can see everything in your signal chain that you might need to do, and it just, is easy. You can go scroll through settings, do all these things, and it's all with a touch screen. I find it significantly easier to use than the HX Stomp, but I must also add the caveat that I did learn how to use the HX Stomp for 3 years before I bought this, so I can't say whether it's entirely more intuitive. What I can tell you is this is significantly less annoying to adjust on the fly. Now, this sells, I think I bought this for 230 Canadian dollars. I think you can get these for under 200 US dollars. Actually, no, wait. Might have paid $299. I don't remember. But I bought this unit back in December, and I was going to try it out and see what I thought about it and see if I thought that it could replace the HX Stomp. And it can for me. It might not for you, but let me run you through kind of everything that this does. So when you open this, and sorry, let me turn on my handy B cam here. So in this unit, if you look at it, this is P01. So this is my main kind of patch. You can flip through them with the switches. You can also program the switches to turn things on and off, which is wonderful. And furthermore with this, if you go to edit, there's a whole slew of amps, if I go edit, that I can choose from. Not as many as the HX Stomp has, but there are tons and tons in there that you can go through, edit, and choose between. There's 3 different effects, things that you can control. So this comes to the kind of first caveat of this smaller form factor. So the first catch with this unit is that there are only 2 switches and you only get 3 effects in your thing. You can't run dual amp setups. I've never been particularly bothered by needing the ability to run dual setups, so that's never been a bother for me. However, when using this in cover bands, or the same thing that I used to have to do with the HX Stomp if I was playing a gig like that, is you just have to set up kind of multiple patches that'll kind of get you to where you need to be, regardless of whatever it is, whatever you need for the gig. So you might have to have a couple different patches versus having something, if you have a bigger unit like a quad Cortex or a full Line 6 Helix, you have a lot more customizability with what you can do. But again, the biggest benefit of this to me is how small it is. Now, getting into what this thing does incredibly well. The amp sims on this are absolutely fantastic. I've been blown away. The main kind of clean sound that I've been using is a model of a Fender Tweed Champ, and the dirty sound that I've been using is a model of an Orange Rock Reverb. Like every other modeler on the market these days, you have multiple cabs you can choose, multiple mics you can choose. One thing that I do find with this versus the HX Stomp, which again is the modeler that I'm most familiar with, is that it tends to have a little bit bassier of a response. So when you dial in your tones, which let me get close to B cam here, when you dial in your tones on the cab, I have always been putting in a low cut on it just to kind of take some of the woof out. I do also run this straight into just a PA speaker, so that could be adding to the problem. But again, just running a little bit of a low cut, no problems there. So you basically have 3 effects. You have dedicated delay and reverb all the time. Sorry, I'll show you the interface again. You can set up a custom EQ, and the other huge plus for this unit and me is that the noise gate on this is significantly more usable than I ever found it to be in the HX Stomp, which is wonderful. Now, in terms of where this thing saves in space and cost for the HX Stomp, for those of you who are wanting to integrate this with a pedal board and have crazy signal chain stuff, you can completely customize the chain. You just have to drag things around, or you can use their wonderful built-in app, which is great. But there are significantly less ins and outs. So there's one input, there's one output. If you get a TRS splitter cable, you can run stereo outs from this. So if that's something that you're into, that's possible. It has a wonderful little headphone jack, and this one is just like the standard kind of headphone jack, so you don't need a 1/4-inch adapter to plug your headphones in. And it also has an aux in and a USB-C output, which is significantly nicer in today's day and age than the old USB-A to whatever the heck it is that the HX Stomp uses. I'm a guitar guy, not a computer guy. I can't think of what the cable's called right now. But that's a lot of kind of what it does well. Again, I'll give you just some quick sample sounds. So if I were to hit some cleans. Again, this is just a guitar, an amp, and some hall reverb. If I were to flip, give you some dirt. That gives you a sense of kind of, and sorry, I have to be very careful with where I point my guitar with single coils. The power main for our building is right there. That's why it's so noisy. It's not an issue with the unit. It's just a very electrically charged area. So there's kind of an overview of a lot of the stuff that this thing does well. Again, it has a customizable signal chain. You can't be as crazy and complex as the HX Stomp is, and there isn't as much availability in it. But again, it is 1/3 of the cost, and it's about half the size of the unit. So for me, that's a really, really big plus. So there's an overview of the unit, why I'm loving it. Again, it sounds great. I'll have some playing examples in just a minute here. But now I need to kind of give the complaint about this. And the first one is that the 2 switches that it comes with are set to kind of switch between banks, but you can, of course, like all the other modelers, change them to control an effect. And in those effects, whenever you step on the switch, there's like half a second maybe of delay. So for example, if I have switch 1 set up to turn on a distortion here, hopefully the mic will pick up some of this click. But if I go, here's a little volume. So there's a little bit of a lag. Now, the interesting thing about this is that if you use an external foot switch, so for example, I also have their Hotone Ampero switch here, which comes with 2 extra ones. That's what the 3rd jack on the back is for. If you use an external foot switch with it, the lag is significantly less. It's not noticeable. So that's kind of one of the interesting things about this, is that if you were to pick up this unit, I would definitely pick up one of the $20 extension switches as well and try to use that as your main AB for switching and control and expression, just because the built-in ones, again, have this weird little bit of a lag to them. So it's not something that for me is a huge deal breaker, because usually when I play, the only other effect that I actually use is this EHX Pico Deep Freeze, which I'll maybe do another video on in the future. But that's kind of the main drawback that I've seen between this, is that it might not be for you if you're looking for crazy pedal board integrations, and you might not be looking for, or you might be looking for absolutely seamless effect stuff. For me, 98% of the time, I'm just playing a guitar into an amp is kind of the sound that I'm going for, and the amp models in this feel great. The touchscreen is super intuitive to set up, and it's really not been a big deal. So what I'm going to do now at the end of this video here is I'll show you 2 kind of samples that I recorded of this. The first one is recorded with my normal kind of clean tweed sound. That's the rhythm guitar, and then the lead guitar that's playing over top of it is kind of like an edge of breakup tone. And then the other one is a cheeky little cover of Sabrina Carpenter's catchy song Taste. And on that one, it's the same clean patch. It's double tracked, so it's 2 takes of me playing through just a normal tweed, and then the distorted channel is me playing through a rock reverb into a simulated 4x12. So you can get a kind of feel for what this thing sounds like. I'm curious to hear if you guys have tried anything from Hotone and the Ampero line. Again, I am such a huge fan of this Ampero Mini. It definitely has drawbacks, so I think that the HX Stomp is justified in its higher cost. But for what I'm looking for, the fact that this has a tuner, looper built into it, amp models of every effects pedal you could ever need, and it's also, you know, 200-ish bucks US, makes it pretty much a no-brainer for everyone to try if you're looking to get into it, because you get pretty much every effect you could ever want, pretty much any amp you could ever want, and a looper, all for the price of some looper pedals. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. It truly helps me out more than you could know. If you want to take a guitar lesson with me, there's a link to get in touch with me down in the description. I'd love to work with you on whatever's troubling you on the guitar. If you want to support me in the free content that I put out here, you could subscribe to my Patreon. All of my patrons get early access to videos as well as cool behind the scenes sneak peeks at stuff that I'm working on that I don't share anywhere else. So I'd love to see you over there. If you're looking for a different way to support the channel, I do have a book and video course linked down in the description as well. It's a great way to get some educational content from me that's more in depth than I can fit into these 10 to 15 minute YouTube videos. And last but not least, I have new videos coming out every single week, so I hope I'll see you in the next one. And until I do, I'll wish you a wonderful day, and I hope you have some fun playing the guitar. Thanks.